Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Sorry we're running a little tiny bit late. I'm super excited. My next guest probably needs no introduction to this community of people, but I'm going to do a brief one anyway. Laura is an amazing performer and composer and violinist and singer and technician and playback designer and everything. She's like the epitome of the modern music technology wunderkind. Do you like my German? That's good. We're going to get into talking a little bit. She's going to present the gear, and then she's going to perform a little bit at the end. Please welcome Laura Escudé.
Thank you. Thanks, Dennis.
No problem. So, to start, let's just chat a little bit. Can you tell everybody who might not know who you are and what you do?
Well, all of those things. I guess I do a little bit of everything. And originally a violinist and got into this crazy world of technology when I went to my first rave and went down the rabbit hole of learning how to produce music myself and performing with DJs and just taking it from there. And worked at Ableton a long time ago. Got into live show design and doing my own performances with a lot of different styles of technology and audiovisual performances, and have a company. And anyway, I don't know. There's a lot of things, Dennis.
There's a lot. I mean, we could talk for hours, but so tell us a little bit about your company, about Electronic Creatives.
Yeah, so my company, Electronic Creatives, I started in 2000. Well, the first iteration was in 2008. And it was actually called something else, but it morphed into EC. And we do live show programming and design for artists. So we go on tour with artists and do their playback. We do their music programming, vocal effects, drum sounds, keyboard sounds, all that kind of stuff. And so it all started when I decided that I wanted to clone myself. I was getting a lot of gigs and offers, and I said, well, I can't do it, but this person can. And so EC, the next evolution of EC was born then. And so we've grown quite a bit. We've got about 15 people on staff right now, and like an in-house staff, and then people that are going out on the tours and doing all that stuff. So yeah, it keeps me pretty busy. Yeah, but I'm was touring for a long time, and I'm not touring anymore, and I'm focusing on the stuff that you'll see today, as well as running the company. Yeah.
And one of the things that I think I didn't mention in the laundry list of things that you do is like mentoring and teaching. And this is something that you're can you tell us a little bit about the courses and stuff that you're running?
Yeah. So I'm super into helping educate and bring up the next generation. And obviously when I started trying to clone myself, I didn't realize what I was doing. But I've actually trained quite a few people to work with me at my company in different capacities, and through that it spawned different programs, one the Master Track program, and my Transmute retreat, and now online course that I'm launching. So yeah, it's just a really big part of my life to give back, and especially be an example for women to see what's possible, and that it is possible to have a career in doing this work.
You have a couple clips that we want to take a look at, right?
Yeah. So
can we play the Master Track video?
Lasers, the lights, the content, the video, automation, things moving up and down, all of that's being controlled from our position.
There's never been a class for this.
I told her that I wanted to make this video because they've legitimately changed how I perform live.
I think it's underestimated what we do. It really is a high-pressure job.
If the musical support system around me is doing its job, then I can do my job, and my job is to connect with the audience.
Oh yeah, this is what it's like to learn something in a formal setting.
The artists who came in were very supportive, the music directors were very supportive.
The knowledge that I've gotten in a week has been like more than a semester in college, I think.
Yeah, so that was a fun journey. We actually hosted that at Bedrock in LA, which is an amazing space. And yeah, it was a 2-week just complete nerd out, and we just all, a lot of the folks are here at Loop, and it's been exciting running into them, and some of them wearing EC shirts, and so yeah, it's been a cool journey to see, especially after Master Track. A lot of the people that went through the program have been on tour with like Ariana Grande and Mariah Carey and Big Sean and Travis Scott, and so they've just gone on to do big things now, and it's all basically because of the training program. So it really makes me feel good to know that I can help other people have a career and to step into something that they might not have had access to.
Is this a program that you'll continue to run?
Yes, it is. We'll do it every March. Yeah.
Awesome. And then what's the next one, this Transmute? This is something new, right?
Well, so it's a spin-off of a retreat that I did, and there's some transmutants in the house here. There's some master trackers and transmutants here. And yeah. So 2 years ago, last year, was it? Last year, I had the idea to do this retreat, combining my loves of health and wellness with music technology and live performance. And the idea was that we would all go to a retreat location in Florida for 5 or 6 days and all nerd out on our own individual live performances. So different from Master Track being behind the scenes, more playback oriented stuff, which can blur the lines and do into more DJ style stuff as well. But Transmute being more focused on live performers who want to elevate their live performance. And so that was a great success, and we had tons of fun, and we learned a lot. And I decided that I wanted to bring that format online. So I made the Transmute online course, which is going to launch in January. And so it's going to be, largely online with online performances, so I can open it up to people from all over the world to collaborate and to be a part of our community. So I'm really excited about that because, as we all know, health and wellness and self-care, especially the older that we get, is very important. And so it's important for me to bring that to light and to help support people in that way as well. And we just don't have to burn ourselves out. We can do this work, and we can tour and be artists and not run ourselves into the ground. It's possible.
We have a clip for Transmute also.
Yes.
Can we run that?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Laura. I'm an artist, I'm an electronic musician, and I'm a live performer. I also call myself a controllerist because I love controllers. And I'm also the CEO of a company called Electronic Creatives, and we do live show design and programming for artists like Kanye West, Logic, Mariah Carey, Ariana Grande, Pentatonics, whole bunch of folks.
They've legitimately changed every aspect of how I perform live.
I actually went to see Laura's show in LA, and I got to see what she was doing with all of her controllers and Ableton and live looping, and I was like, that's amazing. Then I had my one-on-one with Laura, and we discussed, the overview of what I want to do. This was the hard part, was getting me to go really specific and what do I actually want to do? Let's do it now. This is how you do it.
This woman is one of the smartest people on the planet, and she is absolutely the best person in Ableton Live in the world.
I think having the dedicated focus and work transformed my live set.
It allows me to connect who I am as an artist to my ability to convey that.
So much has changed in such a wonderful way. I feel so much more confident in setting up my live shows.
I've definitely gone through some kind of crazy electronic transformation. So I'm about to take some real risks, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. It's so awesome because a lot of these people are sitting in the audience now, and I'm sure they probably didn't know they were in my videos. So you're in my videos.
So, one thing you talked about before was this idea about blurring the lines between the backstage and the front stage. You've also talked about blurring the lines between being an artist and an entrepreneur. And then the one phrase that you kept bringing up when we were talking was this idea about learning to wear many hats.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how this is working for you?
Yeah, I don't know how it's working. It somehow is working. My brain just kind of switches quickly, I think, between the different spaces. For a while I kind of had this internal belief that in order to be an artist, I just had to do that and just do art and just make money that way. And all the while I was building this business and doing these shows and touring with people like Kanye and doing, American Idol and just didn't really consider that to be like artistry, right? And in the last year, I've just done a lot of like personal work and have been growing a lot and have just realized that is who I am. I am a mentor, I am an educator, I am an entrepreneur, I am all of these things. And so it's been exciting for me to bring it all together because now it's just like, oh, I could just be who I am, do all of the things, and not worry about what people say, like, oh, you have to do one thing or two things or three things. There's like so many multi-hyphenates in the room, right? Like a lot of you I see in the audience that are friends of mine are just like, yeah. So, I think people get it now more than ever. It's like we do all of these different things and we integrate it, and it's just part of our personal brand, yeah. Mm.
And one of the things that we talked about, you used this phrase limiting beliefs, and this idea that as you've grown as an artist, you've learned partly through your own work in your head and partly through the work of this equipment to overcome these limitations. And it was amazing how frank and open you were about the fact that this didn't come naturally. You built this.
Yeah, I sent Dennis some notes for this presentation, and it was like a brain dump of like 6 pages of my musings on life and my mental state. I think it was a little overwhelming.
No, but awesome.
We distilled it down, and I'll just distill it down here. I used to think, like, for instance, with auto-tune, right? I used to think, oh, why would anyone use auto-tune? They can't sing, right? Auto-tune, I don't respect anyone that uses auto-tune, right? This was like 10 years ago. And then I started working with Kanye, and I realized that he uses auto-tune, and other artists like him use auto-tune because they want to express themselves as singers, right? And they might not be singers. And just kind of shifting that perception, really changed a lot for me. And I realized that I use technology in a lot of ways to help me shift my limiting beliefs. Like, I actually don't think I'm the best singer. So I use effects, I use auto-tune, I'm not ashamed of it. You guys will hear it in a bit. I use a chord effect as well. I don't think I'm the best chord player on the piano because I'm a violinist. I'm more used to playing single notes at a time and more lead lines. So I use tools and technology to help me play chords, right? So I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are, but I don't even consider them weaknesses anymore because I just have embraced using technology to get it to where I am expressing what I want to express. And I think that's the key, is we can use the technology to better ourselves as artists in the ways that we want to, and it doesn't need to be a negative thing. Like, some people are like crazy finger drummers. I'm not a crazy finger drummer. Like, it's okay. I've spent a lot of time doing all these different things, but I know what my strengths are, and I know that I can use the technology to help elevate my performance, and that I think that's important to make that distinction, for myself and for other artists that I'm working with.
You talked about the things that you've learned from developing live shows for other artists. You've now incorporated into this sort of massive spaceship that you have here. Can you talk a little bit about what that process was like?
Yeah, I think it's just like years of working with different artists and kind of helping them figure stuff out. Like, for example, I worked with Herbie Hancock, and he wanted to do a solo show, and so I got hooked up with him, and I showed him what I did, and then he said, okay, well, how can we adapt what you do? And I've got these ideas, and like, what if we took your looper and we put it on my guitar, and I had 2 different instruments, and one was in the middle of the stage, and it was wireless, and then we did this, and like, Rocket wasn't recorded to a click, so what do you do with that? Which I found out mid-warping. So, just situations like that, he threw all of these ideas at me, and I just had to figure out how to make it happen. And so through working with other artists to help their ideas happen, and also, of course, being in the background of these bigger shows, it just helped me to just discover what I wanted to do as an artist, and how I can adapt this technology to what I'm doing. And yeah, if you were at our panel yesterday, The Best Laid Plans, you'll know that I spoke about pushing the boundaries in a smaller setting, but not in a larger setting. So I definitely like to do that.
That sounds like the perfect segue to moving over to talk about your stuff. Let's ditch the chairs.
Okay.
And take a look at what you're doing over here. So let's talk through the gear. What is it all?
Yeah. So I've got this Rolly synth here. And I've got this push over here. And I've got different sounds on the push. And you can see that they're also lighting up my lights here. And I've got some, well, here we go. Instruments on the push as well. And can change the sounds on here. This is an instrument that I made out of my vocal samples. And of course, good old wavetable. And man, I mean, there's so much. I mean, should I just go through?
So that stuff, those sounds are coming from this laptop.
Yes.
There's another laptop on the floor over here.
Yeah.
What is that laptop
We should
doing?
probably do that thing so I can show that thing, and then I can repair it all for you guys in person.
Which thing?
Oh, the thing where I do this. All right. So this is the audio interface here to this laptop. Yeah. So there's another laptop that's my redundant laptop. Yeah, so
for many of us who have one computer,
actually saw it.
we've heard of this idea of
Now I have to
the redundant systems.
set it all back up because I just totally screwed up my A computer. But I'm glad I did that before the show. All right.
So is this when I vamp?
Yes, you
okay,
vamp.
I'm going to vamp. So you've heard about this idea of like redundant systems before. I don't fully understand how they work, but we have that set up here. The second laptop here is essentially doing the same thing that the first one is doing. And there's a magic box in front that what it's listening to time code or something, or it's listening to a steady tone.
It's listening to a tone. Yeah, it's like a 1K tone, just like a sine wave tone.
And if that tone drops out, what happens? It immediately
switches over. Yeah. So those of you that work in the live show world know that it's imperative that we have the two. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been used quite a bit. And the saying is like, the time that you don't have it set up is the time that you will need it. So we always have it set up. Yeah, so got the redundancy going on the two laptops. And then I've got another computer for visuals as well. Yeah, so this is, well, it's not brand new, but it's about a month old. I did a version of it last summer with my collaborator, Scott Pagano, who is a genius. He created this Unreal Engine program for me. And so when I trigger, oh, am I not hearing sound anymore?
That's hearing sound, but we're not.
We're not hearing sound. Let me... Oh, did it not switch back? Oh. Well, I just screwed up my A computer. Look at that now. Let's see. Some of it's coming through.
I mean, it looks really cool.
Yeah. So anyway, we're supposed to be hearing sound, but I'm triggering all these balls here, and then also from my violin, I'm triggering all this stuff in real time. Yeah. So this is a VR engine. I don't know I'm not well versed in like all the intricacies of it, but I do know that most people use this with a headset. And there's a couple of different types of engines, and this is the Unreal Engine. And basically, yeah, everything in real time is being triggered. And I can use this mic, but I have auto-tune. I can turn it off though. Yeah. But I have to, someone remind me to turn it back on. Okay. So I've got the violin. Right, and when I press down more, it changes the color. Yeah.
Wow.
So I will take this back because I actually do have to restart my computer because the thing is all this stuff is running on UAD and my auto-tune is the UAD, and so the auto-tune didn't like it when I unplugged the cable, as you can imagine. So now it wants me to restart everything. So I'm going to go do that real quick. But yeah, you can keep talking.
I'll keep talking.
Yeah.
It was a very good dramatic moment, though. Because
yeah, right? I felt like I could have made it a little bit more dramatic, but I didn't want to unplug the other stuff that was up here. So, okay, let me just restart real quick.
So
yes.
You talked about the lights. I'm curious about how these work because they are wireless.
They are.
And what are they responding to? MIDI or audio or?
They are responding to MIDI, yeah. So there is this program called MIDI Lights that my friend Henry Strange, also a genius, created. And it's a Max for Live device, and I'm pretty sure it's free, and you can just get it on his website, Strange Electronic. And yeah, basically I just have the MIDI notes from the push going to the lights, and then I've got different sequences going on when I get into the songs, which you'll hear at the very end of this presentation.
What else have we not talked about? We haven't really talked about the Livid controller.
This guy, the Ohm. I think this is like one of the only ones left in existence. Those of you, any Livid Instruments people here? Yeah, a few? Yeah, so you know. I'm just like protecting it, you know. Let me just make sure. Yeah, cool. Let's see if we're back with the main thing though is the auto-tune. Yeah. Does it sound like there's auto-tune? No. Wait a minute. Wait, are you saying that I sound out of tune now? Wait a minute. No, I think it is on, but I just have it on a smidge, right? Because I don't want to sound like Cher. Okay. Not that that's a bad thing, because she's awesome. Okay, sorry. I think we're back.
So what are you doing with the Livid controller? What's that responsible for?
Yeah, so, yeah. We've got a little, like, beat repeat stuff and pitch shifting stuff here. And then all this stuff is for the violin. Over here, I'm just gonna turn myself up here. And so in my in-ears, I have a click going on, right? So I can hear the tempo, and then I can just do looping with this foot controller here, and then control the levels of the different loops on the ohm over here. So should I?
So yeah, how does the foot controller work? You have it doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, let's see it.
I can switch my sound. That's a short demo. You're going to see more of it in a little bit, but yeah. Yeah, so
So you've talked about you can also control things from the violin. You're not just making audio loops.
Yeah. So, well, real quick on the foot controller, I can go back and forth between. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to use this one and I'll turn this off. And then, so we've got the regular. I've got my cello. And my CPU is like just mad at me every time I use that. But it's the best sounding pitch shifter ever. So I stick with it, and everything else I just take out of my set for that. And then I got this. Cool. So those are the 3 different sounds that I have.
And then what are you controlling with the violin? You have this thing called MIDI Merlin. What is that all about?
This thing called MIDI Merlin. It's this thing. So when I'm playing harder on the violin, it's opening up the filter in this synth called Tyrell. And I can change the sounds in here by twisting this knob here. That's the angry dog sound. So anyway, you can use any VST, but I like to use that one because it's pretty light on the CPU.
So another thing we talked about was some of the stuff that you're doing in live entirely using...
Actually, I should just show MIDI Merlin as well.
Yeah, sure. I don't actually know what it is. Is it a Max Patch?
Yeah, so it's a separate application, also created by a genius friend of mine, Randy George. Shout out to Randy. I don't know if he's here. But we actually worked together at M Audio about 10 years ago, and he's been doing all this theremin stuff for a really long time, and he created this program called MIDI Merlin to help transform audio into MIDI into real time. So this is the thing that's driving all of the Unreal stuff, as well as the MIDI stuff with my violin and converting that. So, yeah.
So it's basically a pitch tracking to MIDI conversion.
It's a pitch tracking.
Okay. And it's monophonic?
It can be polyphonic, yeah.
Wow,
but
okay.
I stick to monophonic because it just can be weird and the behavior can be strange, yeah.
So what are you doing with ClipX? You're using this for changing things changing sounds within songs, right?
Playing on the push. Some people don't like to use scale mode. I love to use scale mode because I'm just like, oh, I could just play any note and it's going to be fairly okay, hopefully. And so I've got this ClipX script in here for every song where it will trigger the key for me just automatically when I trigger that song. So it just changes the push. And so that is one of my secret weapons for sure. Does anyone else use ClipX here? A lot of people, yes.
So if you're not familiar with ClipX, you know what? I just realized I'm about to explain how it works. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I think it's like you put text in the clip name and that text is interpreted, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, oh, I know, and it's in your control scripts.
So it works as a control script, and then, so what kind of text is written in these clip names? What does it say there?
It's like a whole long, it's a big
string of text. Okay, right.
Push, SCL, root G.
Scale,
if anyone
root
wants
G.
to know what it is, I'll text it to you or send it to you. You can also Google it online, but there's like a whole sequence, yeah.
So you've talked a lot about randomness and being able to control randomness and build randomness into your process.
Yeah.
Can you demonstrate a little bit about how this works?
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone saw my One Thing video that came out like 2 weeks ago.
Woo!
Maybe? Anyone? A few people. So Ableton did this video. We did this video together called Controlled Randomness for the One Thing, which is like the minute-long series that they do. And yeah, it's just kind of this idea of being in the moment and having some ideas prepared, but not knowing exactly where you're going to go with it. Like in the video, I'm pressing a randomizer button and different effects are coming on, and then I'm just rocking out to those effects in real time and recording them and resampling them. And so, yeah, the idea of controlled randomness is really speaks to me, because sometimes I want to be improvisational and sometimes I want to be more playing to a track or be on the grid. So I've got a couple of different types of songs in my set, which you'll hear in just a little bit. But there's the idea of just doing straight up improv, right? Where I'm listening to a click and I'm recording myself, or maybe I'm not listening to a click. And I'm just completely off the grid and just like in my own world, just doing whatever it is that I want. And then there's like turning on a click and then being able to loop myself and then just start everything from scratch. And then there's the idea of looping within a framework, right? So having backing tracks and then looping on top of the backing tracks throughout the song, and then having some improvisational moments like where the song kind of continues on, and then I stick on a moment where I'm looping and I kind of just vibe there as long as I want to vibe, and then like move to the next section. And then there's another idea that I work with a lot, and it's pre-programmed looping. So like you've seen some of those artists on YouTube. Like I think it's Elise Trow, is that how you say her name? Like she's amazing. And as she goes through the sequence, she's just like playing something, playing something, playing something, playing something without ever triggering anything. So I've been playing a lot with that concept myself. So like the idea of not having to think about it, because I just know that the thing is going to be triggered and the loop is going to start right in the next moment when I want it to, hopefully. And so I play around with all of these different types of performing live in my performances, and I kind of go back and forth between the different modes depending on what the song is called for. I really try to like pay attention and really just dive into what the meaning of the song is, what speaks to me, what it calls for, like, because every song is different, right? Like there's some songs that are just like straight up dance tracks, and you or I am playing to them, and it's more about the vibe and the feeling. And like if I was trying to play drums along with the whole thing, it probably would sound really crappy. So I just will rock like a synth or a violin on top of that. But then other moments that are a little bit more organic, then I'll just do more looping stuff. So there's just like a wide range of just vibes and things that you can do in your live set, and that I try to incorporate. So yeah.
I'm trying to think about the gear we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
There's this thing behind you.
Oh yeah, it's this like this Leaf Audio box here, and it's just kind of like a sound box, and it just makes some weird sounds. So yeah, I got the Leaf Audio thing here, got the OP1 here, and yeah, the Wii controller we didn't really talk about.
You mentioned
yet.
a little bit about that, doing something with the video, but what tell me more about it.
Yeah, so
First of all, it's gold plated.
well, I mean, everyone like freaks out about this, and I bought it for like $10 on Amazon. So, yeah, it was an attachment. Someone said it looks like a vape, also. Like, so it's like, promise that no one's getting high up here. Okay, so yeah, the Wii controller. It's just like a nice like holder for the Wii. I use the Wii for different things, like doing things like this, and then doing harmony stuff, and then turning my auto-tune on and off, which I think it's actually on now again, which I need to remember to do, and then shifting stuff like that, and then also my fave, which is delay. And then I've also got some other vocal effects stuff over here, which I didn't mention before, but I got like a reverb, and then I've got this tremolo thing, which I love to play with, and I could just listen to myself do this for hours. And then I've got this other like just like disorienting. So that's the vocal stuff there. And then, yeah, on the controller as well, I can loop myself on here and clear the loop. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It looks way cool, but it's really, well, I mean, it is cool. Probably the least expensive thing I have up here, though.
But it's a remarkable amount of stuff to keep track of. How much of the work that you're doing on stage is sort of choreographed and arranged ahead of time, and how much of it is just knowing the gear and being able to improvise with this as your instrument?
I mean, obviously, I practice. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I mean, yeah, like for certain things, like obviously I practice for today. I have a show on Tuesday, actually, my EP release party, and here in LA. Plug. If you guys want to come out, it's going to be at Apogee, and we're going to be doing a jam. It's going to be live stream. It's going to be fun. And it's free, and there's going to be free booze. Anyway, okay, sorry. So at that, like I haven't actually rehearsed totally for that, but I've got like a whole rest of the set here. So I'm tomorrow going to plan on figuring out what I'm doing for Tuesday, because I was just kind of tunnel vision on loop stuff. But yeah, I mean, I do practice, and then I also just do like to just try stuff in the moment, because that's where it's fun. Like if every moment is rehearsed, it just feels stale to me. So that's why having that ability to improv within the structure, I think is really important for me. Yeah.
You have an EP coming.
Yeah. How did you know?
Serendipity.
Yeah.
When and what?
So
what
it drops next Friday. It's called Transmute, also in the vein of everything that I've been doing with my retreat and course and all that stuff. And yeah, it's big for me. I actually haven't released music in a while because I've been focused on building my company and all other kinds of things. And so also, I just find that I get really perfectionistic about music and sit on it for a while. So I finally am putting it out. And I've released a couple of singles, and the whole thing is coming out on Friday. And yeah, I'm really excited because it just really represents this journey that I've been on, and it's like the next evolution of that. So.
And the two tracks that you're going to play today, are they from this EP?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in those tracks to warm us up, or should we just...
Maybe. I mean, how much time do we have?
I don't know.
Oh.
We have time.
Oh, okay.
We started a little late, so we can run a little late.
Okay. Yeah, so the first track, Fervor, I actually released a little while ago. It will be on the EP. I actually had released it last year, and I'm re-releasing it because I've had this whole like change. I don't know if some of you know that I was going by Alux, and now I'm going by my name, and it's been like this whole shift for me. And so I decided to put everything into a new box and like reissue this one out. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, and Fervor is just like, I don't know, it was just really, I think at the time I was in the UK a lot, and last year, and just feeling these sort of UK bass vibes, and so that was the inspiration for that track. And then Transmute, well, and so there's looping within Fervor, but it is fairly structured. I've got a bunch of different scenes and loops that I kind of stick on where I improvise and then kind of move on. And then Transmute, which is the title track, what I'm performing here sounds nothing like the actual album song, because I don't know, I just went down like a completely different road with it when I was trying to figure out how to perform it live. So yeah, the song is all loops, like no pre-recorded material up until a certain point, and then you'll know when that certain point is, because yeah, you'll hear the drop, right? The drop comes in, and the video is supposed to change and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so Transmute is a lot like improvisational, like on the grid improvisational, and then when the music comes in, then I'm playing on top of that. So yeah, those are the general concepts behind the two songs. Yeah, I mean, and just Transmute again is like this whole sort of journey. It symbolizes this journey that I've been on as an artist and as a person, where as we were talking about earlier, limiting beliefs. Have just been really like digging in and just sweeping all that stuff away in my own personal life and in my career. And so I've been making this music that's just like, you know what? I'm just going to make whatever comes out. I don't need it to sound like this. I don't need it to sound like this. And not just get hung up on what it needs to sound like. And it's very cathartic for me to be able to create music like this because I don't really know of what genre it is or anything. So, and that's fine. I don't know what to classify it as, but yeah, it's been great. It's been really exciting.
Awesome. Let's
Should
hear
we
it.
do it? Okay, awesome.